Okay, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, October 22nd, 8 a.m. I have just left Jackson's Creek on the Patank River, I think, or something, in Deltaville, Virginia. And the wind today is forecasted to be fairly strong from the west, but I'll be hugging the west shore of the Chesapeake, so it should be fairly flat and fast. So let me show you a little bit what's going on here this morning. Dinghy, unnamed yet, dinghy is still trailing along happily behind us. I think it causes about a half a knot of drag, so I got to work on the davits so they're a little bit more robust. But we've got a beautiful morning, another stunning morning out here on the Chesapeake. We're sailing currently with one reef in the main, which means the bottom, say 3 feet of the main has been pulled down tight using this line here. That's a reefing line that goes up the boom to a winch that I learned today isn't working, so there's another thing to add to the to-do list. But that pulls that back corner or clew down to the boom, and then the tack has a kringle right at the mast that I pull down and it goes around a reefing hook. So that allows me to sail with less mainsail area. And this boat's a little bit tender, meaning it heels fairly quickly in a light breeze. So I want to have a smaller mainsail so I can have a full Genoa, which is what drives this boat more than anything else. So let's take a look at that. Right, so out there you can see I've got the full 130% Genoa pulling away. We're just behind the beam right now, trying to get out of the little bay we're in, and then in 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so I'll be turning up towards the wind about 20 degrees, and I'll shoot that in, and it'll be a close reach all the way down the bay. So should be a beautiful day of sailing. This is what I love. Okay, I think it's maybe 10 o'clock, 9:30, not entirely sure. But we are powered up and charging now. 15 knots of true breeze, I think, and I'm just gonna kind of work my way out into the cockpit here. We're heeled over 20 degrees, 18 degrees, something like that, which is great. Not uncomfortable at all, but you can see how much more heel angle there is. There's a big puff. So let's, I'll see if I can get some good video here. Right, that's the high side. And then that's the low side. Right, beautiful. Beautiful sailing. It's sunny and bright. It'll warm up soon, I hope. The downside is the breeze is not, it's coming a little more south than what was forecasting, what I was hoping for. So there's going to come a time, I think, where I'm going to have to harden up and go hard upwind. But we'll see what develops in the next hour or two before that becomes a real issue. Awesome. All right, so I wanted to show you this perspective. This is like the coolest, in my opinion, the coolest thing about having a boat with autopilot. So I'm way up on the bow. You can see I'm right up at the head of the Genoa. The boat is just plowing along, as you can see. Still in about that 15 degree or 15 knots of breeze from about we're maybe 70 degrees, 65 degrees off the wind. So close reaching. This is where this boat really excels. But it's kind of fun to get up here and have a look back at the boat doing her own thing. Yes, I'm wearing a life jacket. Okay, it's just before noon on Wednesday, and the wind has built significantly. I think it's blowing about 18 now, but well, maybe 18 apparent, probably 15 plus, but gusting quite a bit more than that. The boat was a little bit overpowered. The autopilot was putting probably 7 or 8 degrees of rudder on all the time, and that's a pretty good indication that the boat's overpowered. So I've been playing the Traveler up and down all morning, which has been glorious. Garhauser Marine. I'm gonna try and figure out how to tag them because this Traveler has just been terrific, real luxury. And also, just a couple minutes ago, I ended up reefing the head sail, furling up the head sail. So I had to break one of my own, not necessarily a cardinal rule, but certainly a strong preference rule, and put the roller furling line on a winch, because otherwise there was just too much pressure to furl it. But you can see I've got about a little bit more than half, well, not quite 2/3 out, and the boat's much more comfortable. We're still making over 6 knots and making great time down toward Hampton Roads.
Bummer. After I furled the head sail, I noticed the leech line, or the leech of the sail, was flogging a little bit. Sail's making lots of noise, so I went forward to tighten the leech line, and when I looked up to see how well I had done, my new favorite hat, my North Channel hat, blew right off the top of my head and is now making its way down to the crabs on the floor of the Chesapeake. Boo.
All right, it's not quite 1 o'clock, and we're hauling, still a little bit over 6 knots. I'm having a little trouble keeping my balance. Forgive me for the poor film quality. The sound quality is probably no better, but we are well and truly heeled over. Generally seeing about 18 knots apparent breeze, probably a little less than that true, and I think my anemometer is not reading quite as accurately as it might. In the gusts, I've seen as much as 23 knots over the deck. Again, still with the reef main and about 100% Genoa out, so 30%, 35% put away. Most of the other boats that I've been tracking with down the bay here today have been are off to my left. Looks like they're going the outside route. I might be the only one going into Hampton Roads, which is going to be a challenge. The wind is going to be funneling right out the entrance to that harbor, and it is apparently one of the busiest harbors in North America. Military base at Norfolk, Virginia, major shipping route, all kinds of ferries and things like that. So it's going to be a lot like New York, except instead of going through there at a dead calm, I'm going through at 20 knots of breeze on the nose. So trying to stay as close to shore, as close to the east side or west side of the bay as I can. So I've got my Ray Marine hat on because if it blows off, I'm not as devastated. Some good news, the autopilot's doing great, and even with the autopilot working hard, the solar panels are charging the batteries. I'm actually gaining power as I go today, so that's outstanding. And the other piece of outstanding news is I was just talking with Siren's Call, and they're 12 miles behind me. So I'm getting 12 miles of reception on my little makeshift VHF antenna, which is terrific. I'm thrilled with that. So good news all around. Here's some boat porn. Lots of water on the side deck. My jerry can holder's not working as well as I had hoped. But if it takes this much breeze to knock those out, I guess I'm okay with it. 3:30 on Wednesday, and we are in an area called Hampton Roads, which is sort of, we've left the Chesapeake Bay into this smaller bay, and on one side of Hampton Roads is Hampton, Virginia. On another side of the river we're about to go into is Norfolk, Virginia, which is the largest marine installation, and I'm going to show you some ships here in a minute. However, I'm finding Hampton Roads to be rather unpleasant. I've managed to time this very poorly. I'm motoring directly into almost 20 knots of breeze and 2-knot unfavorable current. So it's getting very choppy very fast. I'll show you. I don't know how well you'll be able to see with the sun, but very short, steep, choppy waves, lots of spray. And like I say, I'm going 6'2" through the water and 3'9" over the ground. I've got about 3 hours of daylight left, and at this rate, that means I'm going to go less than 12 miles, which is not going to get me anywhere near any of the anchorages I want. So hopefully when I get around the corner and into the river, it'll get a little bit better. But I'm going to turn the camera around and show you some big boats, gray ones. So this is, I guess, what's known as I think it's the Long Gray Wall or the Great Gray Wall or something. So as you go down this river, it's just slip after slip after slip, dry dock after dry dock of naval ships in for repair or upgrade. I'll take some more as we get closer. All right, so we're through the commercial part of Norfolk, Virginia, and Plymouth. We're on the Elizabeth River South Branch, and I would have been quite a bit further along by now, but I had to follow two work tugs that were piloting or pushing a fairly sizable steel vessel called Gladiator. So I got stuck behind them for probably an hour doing 4 instead of 6. So the goal tonight, this will be my last video of the day, I think, but the goal tonight is to try and get as close to the start of the Dismal Swamp canal as I can. We'll see how much light I have. There's 2 anchorages between here and there. One of them is right at the mouth to the lock, and the other is 2 or 3 miles before it. So I think if there's enough light for me to get right to the lock, then that's what I'll do. And if not, then I'll tie up or I'll drop anchor at, there's a bend in the river, and there's a little anchorage on each side of that bend, big enough for 1 or 2 boats. So I'll drop anchor in one of those. Maybe I'll do a video once I have the anchor down just to wrap things up. Anyway, the Elizabeth River down here is absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. It's almost like being back in the canal or in the Hudson. Getting through Hampton Roads was brutal. It actually turned into a gale. I had 30 knots coming over the side of the boat, over the beam. Traffic everywhere. The river is ugly and full of General Dynamics and military bases and all sorts of stuff like that. Just not my cup of tea at all. And then Norfolk, Virginia was I don't know, nondescript. And but now this is what I like. Just quiet, rural, waterfront settings.
Okay, it's just a couple minutes before 6:30. on Wednesday night, and I apologize for the traffic noise. You can see I'm parked pretty much right under a bridge, but the spot is perfect. I'm just off the south branch of the Elizabeth River in a creek called Deep Creek, and less than 2 miles down the creek is the Deep Creek Lock, which is the start of the Dismal Swamp canal, which is basically the beginning. I've already passed mile marker 0. I think Portsmouth is mile marker 0 of the ICW, but this is basically the start of the ICW. I'll go into the canal tomorrow. I think it's 22 miles long. Lock opens at 8:30. I should be through by 1:30, and then I motor another 20 miles or something to Elizabeth City, and so that's it for the day. I'm tied up just before dark, which is good. I could have continued on and anchored, but I risked doing it in the dark, and this is as good a spot as any, and I'm gonna update my logbook and blog a little bit and make some dinner. See you tomorrow.